Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very special presentation with FIFA Canada and the World Cup City Toronto, co-hosted by Ontario Soccer. We have some very important and very exciting information to share with you tonight, and lots of it. So without much delay, I will get the proceedings started. My name is Björn Osik, Senior Director of Business with Ontario Soccer. And tonight's webinar features two exceptional leaders at the forefront of Canada's preparation for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. We have, on the one hand, Sandra Gage, who is the Executive Director, Commercial Operations for the FIFA World Cup 2026 in Canada. Sandra has played a pivotal role in some of Canada's largest international sporting events, including serving as the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for the FIFA Women's World Cup back in 2015, which you might remember drew a record crowd of 1.3 million spectators and generated major economic impact across the country. Of course, she was also instrumental on the 2026 United Bid Committee that helped to secure the hosting rights for the upcoming FIFA World Cup. So Sandra, welcome tonight. And of course, it's also my pleasure to introduce our second speaker, Sharon Bollenbach, who is the Executive Director of the FIFA World Cup 2026 Toronto Secretariat. Sharon comes to us with over 25 years of leadership in sport and event management, has held major roles including Chief Executive Officer of Special Olympics Canada, as well as the General Manager for the FIFA U20 World Cup back in 2007 in Toronto. So a bit of a loop closing there for you, Sharon. Wonderful to hear. And of course, she now leads Toronto's World Cup planning efforts, guiding the operations, city partnerships, and strategic readiness. So welcome to Sharon as well. We will start with Sandra's presentation, followed by a presentation that Sharon will spearhead. You will have the opportunity via the Q&A function at the top of the screen to submit questions. However, we will collect those questions and go over them as much as possible at the end, because as you can appreciate, there's so much vibrant information in those two decks. A lot of questions will be answered as we go along. So with that in mind, Sandra, I invite you to share your screen and get us started.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to Ontario Soccer for having us tonight. Really appreciate it. It's nice to see some names like Ron Smale. Nice to see your name. And for those that I may have met before, or if I haven't, it's nice to meet you on this call. Certainly a pleasure. Definitely nice to talk to the football community, of course, having done that during so many of my years at Canada Soccer. So I am going to share my screen now, and this is always fun because I want to make sure I'm doing it right for everybody. And we will get to that. And can everybody see me okay? See this, I should say more accurately, see the presentation? Great. Okay, so again, thank you for having us today. I will take you through a presentation that's going to give you a sense of the overall project. And I think before we can actually do that, we need to reflect on where we started. So I want to just take a brief time here and share this with you.
Good afternoon. Bonjour. It's a great honor to speak to you today. My name is Alfonso Davies. My parents are from Liberia and fled the Civil War. I was born in Ghana in a refugee camp. It was a hard life. But when I was 5 years old, a country called Canada welcomed us in. And the boys on the football team made me feel at home. Today, I am 17 years old, and I play for the men's national team. And I'm a proud Canadian citizen. And my dream is to someday compete in the World Cup.
Oh my God.
Maybe even in my hometown of Edmonton. I played matches in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. The people in North America have always welcomed me. If given the opportunity, I know they'll welcome you. Thank you.
So I think that's a really important slide for us to start with, because at the end of the day, you know, that is what this tournament has been about from the beginning, when we as a federation, as Canada Soccer, bid for this tournament. So I'll take you through some slides that'll give you a bit of a big picture of how the tournament's organized here in Canada and what the role of FIFA Canada plays. But essentially, we are FIFA in Canada. So for those of you familiar with the Women's World Cup in 2015, Canada Soccer really ran that event as a local organizing committee. And with this event, it's a different approach because it's really FIFA that has set up the office in Canada. So someone like myself, I work on this file as a member of the FIFA team here in Canada. We've had three ambitions from the beginning, and we had three ambitions when we bid for the tournament in unity, certainty, and opportunity. Unity has never left us as an important ambition. So as FIFA Canada, our ambitions are to unite the country from coast to coast, to leave a multicultural and multi-generational legacy, and to celebrate the cultural mosaic that represents us as a nation. You can tell from that logo on the left that really front and center is the cultural mosaic that we are as a country. Additionally, I think when I was introduced, you could have seen something on the back of the wall here in Alphonso Davies playing at Qatar, and from him being a 17-year-old to being able to be there in 2022 and now playing in a home World Cup. We know the galvanizing force that this will have on the country, but we also know that it's everybody on this call who's going to make this really important for Canadians and connect Canadians. And hopefully when we go through everything today, you'll have a sense of how that can happen. Our organizational structure, just for reference, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but FIFA is FIFA Zurich. So really there's 4 countries putting on this World Cup because we have FIFA Zurich, and then we have our headquarters that are based in Miami. And then, of course, we have Canada here in Toronto and Mexico in Mexico City. Additionally, we have a venue office in Vancouver. And the Toronto venue office essentially is really our headquarters here. What is the FIFA World Cup? At the end of the day, it is the most watched competition on earth. And if you look at this and you see things like the Olympics on here as being 8.4 billion as a reach, and you recognize that the FIFA World Cup reaches more than twice of that number, you, I think, get a sense of how big this tournament is for the world. How big is it? This is what it looks like. It's 104 matches. They are laid out very specifically on this match schedule. For those of you familiar with the schedule who've had a chance to look at it, definitely we feel really good about the teams that are playing here in Canada and the incredible countries that will be visiting us. And we're very excited about the teams that are still to qualify. So right now, 42 of 48 teams have qualified. The remaining 6 will be qualifying in this next March window. You'll be familiar that Canada in its opening match is playing a winner of a match that could involve Italy as a marquee team that may be coming to Toronto. So I'm sorry if that steals any of Sharon's thunder, but we're pretty excited about what might be possible with that match. The tournament itself is broken out across geographic clusters. So the Western cluster is really Vancouver, Seattle, San Francisco, LA. The Central cluster is outlined there. And of course, the Eastern cluster, which is Toronto and obviously the province of Ontario included in that. This is really for competition purposes. It's the way that teams can travel. It minimizes their travel. And it's the way the schedule was built at the end of the day. So we have a record number of teams in this competition, and the matches have increased by 62.5%. So Qatar was 64 and we're up to 104. What's the Canadian road? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because certainly Sharon will take you through Toronto, but we're really excited that we have 13 matches here in Canada. We think that's a perfect number. We go through the round of 16 in Vancouver and through the round of 32 in Toronto. How big is the tournament? I can give you a comparison of the Women's World Cup in 2015, and the economic output for that was $500 million. So this tournament with 13 matches is $3.8 billion. So that just gives you an understanding of the scale of what the tournament is and the nature of the visitors that will come to our country as part of the tournament, and that kind of economic impact will be driven by that. I think this is a really important number to share with everyone on this call, largely because we are a soccer nation. We've talked about it, or a football nation, if we want to call it a football nation. But Qatar was a watershed moment for the men's program, definitely for the sport in Canada. And I think for that concept of water cooler talk in Canada, because 84% of the country watched some part of the World Cup in Qatar. So we know that it's a very incredible opportunity for the country to really be a part and come part of this and come along on the journey with us. We're very proud of Canada being in demand. So, and Sharon and her team in Toronto and our team in Vancouver are a big part of why this is happening. So credit to their teams for really helping us drive a lot of what you see on this slide. We know that people want to come to Canada. I can tell you that when we bid for this tournament, and I had the privilege of being part of the bidding team, when we went to visit countries, we always heard, we essentially went to all the UEFA countries and lobbied them for their votes. And basically, Mexico would talk about the passion of the game and how important that was and how people were going to come to Mexico because they love the game so much there. And it'll be the only country that's hosted 3 World Cups. The US talked about the economics, the ability or the opportunity to make a lot of revenue for the organization, with 90% of the revenues that come back to FIFA going back into the member associations. And as Canada, we always talked about being a welcoming country, about uniting the country, about uniting North America, uniting the world. And we all know in today's world, we need to do more of that. And really that showed up in every conversation we had. We had many members of UEFA telling us they were coming to Canada first and foremost because our country had welcomed their family, their friends, had welcomed as immigrants. So we really feel and know that people are going to show up in Canada, and that's an opportunity for all of us. And we'll take you through some programming that's going to help to take advantage of that. So Toronto and Vancouver always been up there. I think in the bottom left, that's a really important number for everybody on this call to understand, that we've already seen a growth of 9% in the popularity and awareness of this tournament in Canada. So that tells us that when we, all high tides raise all ships, I guess the saying, that this tournament will provide an opportunity for all of us to benefit in the football community. We're a favorable host. Those numbers show that. And that 68% we're particularly proud of because we are the country that people want to come to most. Some of the other results where we're leading, the volunteer program had over a million applications, and Toronto was number 1 and Vancouver was number 2 for people not only in Canada, but from around the world that wanted to volunteer. We will be having Canadians volunteer. That's our focus. And I know that a lot of people in the football community have applied to be volunteers, but we're really proud of that number. We think that's a really a testament to how people want to be involved in the community engagement already. And then from a retail and licensing point of view, just know that of the 16 host cities on the FIFA.com store, Vancouver's number 3 and Toronto's number 5 in host city merchandise sales. And I'll share a little bit more about licensing and retail in a bit. We have a number of FIFA commercial partners that are vested in this tournament, and I can tell you unequivocally they're investing in Canada. You will see them activating. You will not go into a retail outlet or watch a show on television or on your social channels and not see some of these partners activating their World Cup rights. So that's good news for all of us. That will really raise the bar as well from an awareness perspective. These numbers might grow, but the maximum number we'll have in our commercial partner network from a FIFA lens will be 30. There are additionally 10 host city supporters that the City of Toronto is currently engaging with or looking to engage with if they haven't already. So some of the activations in Canada, I just want to give you a sense of that kind of presence that our commercial partners are having in the market. Things like Coca-Cola cans featuring a logo. I'm really proud of the bottom middle photo because that actually was taken in my hometown of Welland, Ontario, at the McDonald's drive-through, where a contest was being run nationally in local markets like a Welland, Ontario, and it was featuring the Canada mark. So it's telling our Canada story, and each of the commercial partners has access to the rights of the logo rights, and that's a particular point of pride for us that they're choosing to use Canada. From this slide, I just want to give you a sense of really how far we've come. because we're really into our last phase here. We're into the phase 3. We call it involved from a marketing communication lens, but we have some important milestones coming up, but we've already gone through a lot of important milestones, and I'm going to show you a few of the results of what those are. But know that coming up, we're going to have an official poster launch. We're close to 100 days. My God, March 3rd is coming up fast and furious. We will get into a last minute ticket sales phase, which is April the 1st. There will be an official album launch, probably in the May window. And then, of course, we kick off in Mexico City on June the 11th. These are some examples of what we call the Sonic ID and the creative look of the Sonic ID. So you'll probably be familiar with a FIFA tournament in that there's a standard sound. There's a signature sound that comes with the tournament. So for the FIFA World Cup 2026, there was a signature sound, and each of the cities had the opportunity to customize that sound to reflect their culture and their, I'm going to say, vibe of their city. And Toronto and Vancouver did a phenomenal job with theirs. And Toronto's also was a very impactful piece, and I'm going to show you some of that right now. So hopefully you got a flavor of the city of Toronto through that. And definitely that Sonic ID and even just the little bell at the end from the TTC, we really made sure, and we worked really closely with the host city to ensure that there was a reflection of the world in a city, which is what the city of Toronto is for this tournament. These are some examples of the host city posters that were created. So again, each of the 16 cities had an opportunity to create something bespoke to their community. I won't speak to the process and the outreach that was done by the city of Toronto, but what they ended up having as their final poster with Dave Murray as the artist was incredibly impactful. And I can tell you from a very strong point of pride across all 16 host city posters, it's been voted the #1 poster by The Athletic. So it really resonated well with the football community. Another milestone that we marked was 1 year to go. And I really wanted to show you this because this really demonstrates how we can come alive in communities, both in Toronto and Vancouver, but also outside of Toronto and Vancouver. And that clock you're seeing on the left is obviously in Niagara Falls, Ontario. And those athletes that you're seeing, those young soccer players, are from 3 different community clubs in the Niagara region. So we're really excited that that countdown clock exists in Niagara Falls. That's something that the city of Niagara Falls put their hand up and said they wanted to have there. And we were really excited to see everything that the city of Toronto did around the 1 year to go celebration at Nathan Phillips Square. So I have a little bit of a recap video that I'm going to show you, and this is probably my last video I'm going to be sharing today. Then we'll go to mascots. So the official mascots, there are a series of 3 mascots. They always appear together. And this is just these are just some photos, I should say, from the mascot tour that was done in both of the host cities. So we had the opportunity to do media tours. We had the opportunity to engage with the local communities. And we were really pleased with, I would say, the media interest and the coverage that was received as part of that. So Maple is Maple the Moose. For those of you who would have seen the release video when we did reveal the mascots, just a little bit of a trivia for you. If you look at that video again, there is a moment when above the bed you see a poster of a goalie, because Maple is a goalie. And that picture is actually of Craig Forrest, our former national team goalkeeper. Obviously, we all know the legend that he is. And we were pretty pleased to be able to have a Canadian in there as that representation. Licensing and retail, as I mentioned before, we have different channels where this is available. There will be FIFA store on site at the stadiums. There will be off-site stores, and I'm happy to report that Toronto is most likely to get the first off-site retail store across all 16 cities. There is a Canadian company called V12 that'll be providing that, so more to come on location, but there's probably going to be 2 to 3 in the city of Toronto. There's also the online stores I mentioned before. And then there are all these third-party retailers. Another point of pride for us here in Canada is that we were the first country to have product in the stores. So I don't know if anybody's had the opportunity to see product or purchase it, but there's over 50 retailers that are in Canada, and they basically work with each of these retail outlets to get product in their stores. You can purchase it online as well. Things like, definitely Walmart has a great line through a Canadian licensee that's been very engaged. Costco, Canadian Tire, you'll see the balls. Like, there's a range of product. I do not think you will go into a retail outlet in Canada from now through to the tournament and not see something FIFA World Cup. And that's, something that we've really pushed here as FIFA Canada. And we're coming to the community engagement piece that we really want to focus on for the presentation for you. So we announced this last week. Some of you may have seen it. The concept of Canada Celebrates. So essentially what we're doing is we're looking to engage communities through a series of interactive opportunities through a caravan. So this program itself has 2 phases. The first is during the Coca-Cola Trophy Tour. So the dates listed there are where we will be traveling with the Coca-Cola Trophy Tour, and we will be showing up. So the Canada Celebrates program will be a complement to the Trophy Tour during this initial phase in April and May. You can see that in the city of Toronto, May 25th and 26th, and I don't know if there's anyone from Ottawa on the call, but we're very pleased that we'll also be showing up in Ottawa on May the 24th. So more to come on that as we develop the programming around that, but that's the first phase. I think this is the most important phase to show you, and you can see there's a lot happening in Ontario with this draft map. So I do want to qualify, it is a draft map that, but we do know that the stops that we're outlining or where there's been an interest shown is within a 2-hour drive of 75% of Canadians. So we are bringing the FIFA World Cup to the country. We will go from coast to coast and hopefully coast. We would love to be in one of the territories. We're trying to do that, and we're trying to show up in each province. But during the tournament, we will be very focused on being in the province of Ontario and the province of BC. The communities you see on this list are communities who would have expressed an interest in having us come to their community. And we are in a stage of working through confirming if we will be in those communities. What we envision, and I'll go to some of the renderings, is that it's a 10,000 square foot activation showing up. So you see there's a pitch, and we really envision that this pitch in this area will be an opportunity for local grassroots clubs to be a part of being present. What that looks like, how we work through that, we will have a conversation, and we'll work with our friends at Ontario Soccer to determine the best way forward to make sure that happens. But this is our party to the country, to bring the FIFA World Cup to the country and our sport to the country. Okay, so that's definitely going to be a big focus for us with this. There's one little, I lied, I have one more video, but this just gives you a sense of what we announced last week. And these are the renderings, just to give you a sense of what is possible and how it's going to look. So you can see that the mini pitch is a big focal point, and you can also see that the stage is a big focal point. So there will be a lot of programming available on the stage as well. But we also envision having dedicated skills-based locations where each of our commercial partners will likely get engaged. So we probably have about, I'm going to say 8 to 10 commercial partners who are going to be showing up as part of this as well. It's really important to note that this is a program that really FIFA has put the budget behind to support it. So we have municipalities paying to participate to a small degree. We're subsidizing quite heavily, but we as FIFA really felt it was important to bring the FIFA World Cup to the entire country. So this is our vehicle to do that. And then the last couple slides I have, and I'm just going to touch on these because I know Sharon's going to speak to public viewing as well. Another way that the communities can be engaged is definitely through public viewing. So public viewing are really watch parties, and the broadcast of any match during tournament time, it's really controlled by the media rights licensee, and our media rights licensee or partner is Bell Media. So TSN, CTV, RDS, those are the people who own the rights to show matches in Canada. So we have a process, a public viewing portal where you apply for public viewing, and there's some certain categories. And these categories are outlined here. And this is very, I'm going to say it's a little bit technical, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. But the bottom line is, if you're above 1,000 people at your gathering, it changes how that public viewing license is requested. So what happens as a process is you apply, an interested group applies through the public viewing portal, and the FIFA commercial team reviews it to see if it's a commercial activity, and a commercial activity could be sponsored or somebody charging admission. And then the media partnerships team will work with TSN on getting approvals for these public viewing licenses. So I don't want to spend more time on it than that, because I think there's a little bit more that Sharon is going to be sharing, but I'm going to stop sharing now and hand it over to Sharon.
Wonderful. Sandra, thank you so much. Such a treasure trove of information, and I don't think there's a single football person on the call that is not feeling the tingle, the goosebumps, the joy of anticipation. And what a perfect segue for Sharon now to give it a Toronto and Ontario flavor. Sharon, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope everyone can see that. Someone can give me a thumbs up. That would be great. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for welcoming Sandra and I here. Thanks to the team at Ontario Soccer, and thanks to everyone who's joined the call tonight. We appreciate you being here. We know there's lots of interest out there in community about the World Cup, what's happening around Canada, what's happening in Toronto and Ontario. So really, really proud to be here and share information with you. So tonight, I'm going to touch on a few things related specific to our planning in Toronto and some areas where I think you, as Sandra mentioned, might be really interested in terms of how we're really encouraging engagement and celebration, and for people to really join this once-in-a-lifetime experience, once-in-a-generation experience that we all have in having the World Cup in our backyard. So I am not able to advance screen for some reason. Let me see if I can, sorry. I will start over here.
Sharon, I had to scroll down for mine.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. All right, so Sandra touched on a bit of this, but I'll just cover off a bit as well. I think everyone's well aware of this information, but of course, this is a World Cup like never before in terms of its breadth and its reach, and just the size and scope of it. 3 countries, 16 host cities, 48 nations competing, and 104 matches. And this just, again, is another map, as Sandra shared, on just the cities that are part of it. And of course, here in Canada, we've got Toronto and Vancouver as our hosts. We are hosting 6 matches in Toronto, and we're super proud to be one of the host cities in this tournament. It's an amazing opportunity, and Bjorn mentioned my time as general manager of the Toronto site during the U20s back in 2007, which of course dates me a little bit, but it really is a bit of a full circle moment for me, because back in 2007, for those of you who were around, and I know most of you probably were as big soccer fans, it was really a time in soccer. The stadium was just getting built. TFC was just starting. I recall our first site visits to the stadium to start planning and preparing, that we had to wear boots and hard hats. And here we are, 2026, hosting the Men's World Cup. So an amazing, amazing experience then. And I think we're all in for an amazing, even bigger experience for the Men's World Cup in a few months. So 6 matches in Toronto, and we have the great distinction, and I'm really proud of this. And I know that our city, our province, and our country are kind of completely come alive on June 12th when we get to host Canada's men's national team in Toronto. That is our first match on Canadian soil in a men's World Cup, and of course it will include our team. So we're thrilled about that. It's an amazing, amazing opportunity for us as a nation to really host our team and showcase them on a global stage with a global audience. And to that global audience, we have worked with FIFA way back now. It seems like a long time ago, and working on the brand and how each city would sort of have its own, be part of a collective experience as a World Cup across 16 host cities, but also have its own flavor and its own feel and its own representation of who we are and what matters and what is true to us. And so for Toronto, our theme for the World Cup is the world in a city. And I really, really believe that there is no better theme for us and no better opportunity for us to showcase who Toronto is. We are made up of so many different cultural groups. We have such cultural diversity. We're a city of neighborhoods. There are over 200 languages spoken in Toronto. And I think Toronto really represents what the World Cup is all about in terms of those nations being represented. And we know we're actually in communication with the countries that are going to be playing in Toronto, and they are so thrilled. And there's representation of every country playing in Toronto, in our city. So we're excited about engaging them and showcasing them and their diverse and unique cultural communities to the world. So this world in a city theme, is really about diversity. It's about our neighborhoods. We want to display local talent. We want to talk about the world-class dining, that you can almost get any menu and any cultural food group in Toronto can be found, and really, really want to tap into that community engagement. And you're going to start seeing this more and more in the marketing tools and the events and the things that we advance over the coming weeks and months leading into the tournament. Here is our match schedule, and as Sandra mentioned, we are still waiting, many people holding their breath on the playoffs still to come. We will know that decision on March 31st. So you'll see there who the potential teams are. And of course, there's lots of buzz and chatter about Italy potentially playing that first match in Toronto. And then, of course, our other matches are noted here. And as you're all aware, the draw happened in early December. And for us, from a planning perspective, this was a really big milestone. We knew the dates of our games, but we, of course, didn't know who was playing in Toronto. We didn't know match times. And so from that information and the draw happening cascades a whole new set of decisions and plans and things that we can work around transportation planning, because we know match times. We know the countries, as I mentioned, we're doing outreach to each of the countries now. So that the draw happening and us having this information was really important as a planning milestone for us. Toronto Stadium, I've talked about it a little bit. You're all familiar with Toronto Stadium, of course, our first, Canada's first soccer specific stadium. We are doing renovations to the stadium, and for anyone who's driven by in recent days or the last couple of weeks, you will see, and it makes my heart sing, there is steel rising, there are seats going in. And there you can really see the work that's been done over the last few weeks. So to meet FIFA standards of a World Cup host city, we have to have a minimum of 45,000 seats. BMO Field is typically around 28,000. So here for this tournament, Toronto Stadium, as it will be known for the tournament, we are adding temporary seating to get us up to that 45,000. So that's the big work that you're seeing right now. We need to get ready in advance of the tournament. We're going to be having a couple of test matches, as was announced. MLSE are hosting a couple of matches at the end of March. And obviously TFC are playing in the stadium leading up to the tournament, several matches as well. So we need to be ready and ahead of things. And so the countdown is on. Every day is, every hour is critical right now, as you can all imagine, in a big capital project. That seating, as I mentioned, is temporary, but we're also really proud to be making an investment as a city of Toronto, but also with some support and influx of money from Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment as well. We're really proud to be also investing in some legacy pieces. So there's a number of improvements that are staying and will be sort of long-lived after the tournament, after the World Cup is over, including 4 new amazing video boards. If you were at matches at the end of the season, there's 4 new video boards in each corner at the stadium. They're big, they're beautiful, great picture quality. We're improving the audio system, the lighting system. We're increasing broadcast requirements. We're improving the concession stands, how people access food and beverage. We're replacing the field of play and doing some work in the player and team dressing rooms as well. So all of those items are legacy items that will stay after the tournament and really are an effort and what we call the improvement to the fan experience that will live long after the World Cup. Centennial Park is our official training site. Many of you are probably familiar. It's a beautiful large park in West Toronto in Etobicoke. We are building a new pitch there as well as a beautiful new field house. And this again is a legacy project. So these items will remain after the tournament and be available for community use. And it's part of a big 10-year master plan for Centennial Park. And we're really proud as the FIFA World Cup to be contributing to that and having this legacy in another part of the city. FIFA Fan Festival. So FIFA Fan Festival will be happening downtown, Fort York in the Bentway, so very near the stadium. It's a beautiful historic site, very close, obviously, to downtown, easily accessible, walking, cycling, near the waterfront. A really beautiful location. There's a number of great positive things about this site, and we're excited to be hosting our Fan Festival there. And Fan Festival will really be the central location for all things celebrating the World Cup while it's in our city. It'll be a place for fans to gather. You'll be able to watch matches on huge screens in the park, and not just the matches being hosted in Toronto, but other matches throughout the tournament. And here's where we're really leaning into that world in a city theme. During Fan Festival, the food you eat will be culturally diverse. The programming you see on stage, the talent, the entertainment will be culturally diverse. Really tapping into the different neighborhoods and the diversity of Toronto that we want to display here. It'll be family friendly. There'll be tons of activations. As Sandra mentioned, many of the FIFA's global partners will be activating at FanFest. And so there'll be lots of activity and buzz, things for people to do outside of watching matches. We're still working on the number of days that we will be open and the hours. So there'll be lots more information coming out over the next short term on the specific details of operations for Fan Festival. And of course, as much as Fan Festival will be sort of the central place that will be, centered on and focusing on and really encouraging people to come and gather. We know that there is huge interest in this event in Toronto and that there will be city-wide celebrations in every corner of the city and in cities outside of Toronto and small towns outside of Toronto. But for our focus as a host city, we are really encouraging local community businesses, organizations, soccer clubs, schools, to all activate and be part of the celebration. So much so that the city did put together a grant program. It is closed now, but we had many, many applications, well over more demand than we could reach. But we're very proud that we'll be actually issuing over 60 grants for community celebrations, inclusive of $1.7 million to support those events and those activations. So those will be happening in all wards across the city. They're all events that are taking place during the tournament period, so June 11th to July 19th. And we're soon to be posting the recipients online of who received a grant in that program. But whether people received a grant or not, we really are encouraging celebrations. We want people to get engaged. We want to have visitors who are coming to our city and residents who live here to be able to catch the spirit, the enthusiasm, the energy of this World Cup in all kinds of neighborhoods. And if you're a visitor coming from out of country, we want you down at Fan Festival, but we also want you to hop on the subway and get to another neighborhood and experience the culture of another neighborhood right here in Toronto. So we really, really are making an effort to encourage and support as much as we can these citywide celebrations. Sandra also shared a bit of a milestone countdown and milestone pathway, and I'll share one here too, just in regards to some things in Toronto. So right now, we are very much in a phase where we're really talking about that world in a city, that we are Toronto, really promoting Toronto, global city. If you have or have not tickets for this event, still come to Toronto, still visit Toronto. We're going to be alive and celebrating for the entire World Cup. And then as we get into April and May, and of course through the tournament, we'll be talking a lot about this know before you go and really promoting what people need to know about the tournament, what's happening, what days things are happening, where you can catch action, how you get around the city, supporting that sort of entire fan experience and making sure that the fan experience is a good one, a positive one, where people know what's going on, they know how to get around, they're informed about the tournament and all aspects of it. And we will really dig into that more and more as we get closer and through the tournament. And in that time, people will be able to, through an app and other social media channels, our website, etc., be able to get real-time updates. So if there's a road closure somewhere or, something's sort of bubbled up and there's a pop-up fun celebration somewhere, we can promote that in real time during the tournament. And then starting in May, you will start to see our dressing and signage and event pageantry start to roll out in the city. We've been perhaps a little quiet. I've been hearing from a few people that they're not seeing things in and about the city. And there's been a bit of a method to that decision to really hold tight till we get closer to the tournament in order to kind of really ramp up that enthusiasm and spirit leading into the kickoff for us here in Toronto on June 12th. So you will definitely start to see more things around the city as we roll out our pageantry. Sandra mentioned 100 days to go. March 3rd is the 100 days countdown, and we will be hosting a public celebration. It will be a cultural celebration, again, tapping into the world in a city. We anticipate we're going to have great participation of all the countries that are actually going to be coming and playing here So we're super excited about that. We've been communicating with them, and they're sharing ideas of cultural representation that they would like to see happen as part of that celebration. So please stay tuned for more information on that. We'd love to have many from the soccer community join us in that celebration. The Coca-Cola Trophy Tour, which Sandra mentioned, and then of course we lock into the tournament timeframe. So a little bit more about, I talked about how we really want people to tap into citywide celebrations and just soccer community participation wherever you might be in Ontario, but in particular, perhaps in the GTA. We developed a community activation toolkit, and the version 1.0 was released in August. And next week we will be releasing version 2.0. So a few updates that we wanted to share with people, a bit more information about how communities can engage and participate, and a bit of a reminder as well, some repeat information from the first version on just how to really engage, and in particular around brand guidelines. And this toolkit is intended for the business community, not-for-profit organizations, soccer community, schools, residents, anyone who wants to look at having some type of themed event, party, watch party, whether it's a viewing party or just a park celebration, maybe a celebration within your soccer club where you gather all your teams together and have a bit of a party to celebrate the World Cup. So that's the intention and purpose of the toolkit. And I'm going to walk through just a few of the items that are in it. This is what you'll find. We have a couple of some updates on hosting public viewing events, which Sandra touched on. We have a bit of new information about Fan Festival, some new information about getting around in the city. These are all included in our toolkit. And again, the version 2.0 will be launched next week. So first up is really about the brand and protecting FIFA IP. And for all of you who may be in business or just, understand sort of marketing and brand, you know that brand is important, and all companies protect their brand, want their brand to live and in a sort of safe way, I guess. And as you can imagine, FIFA, largest brand on the globe, really take the time and effort to protect their brand. And they have a number of global partners who pay a lot of money to be part of and support the brand. So we as a host city have a big responsibility to work together with FIFA to protect the brand in our city during the World Cup. So this slide really demonstrates, and it's going to seem like a lot of rules and a lot of sort of things you can't do, but I'm happy to share that in a couple slides we offer some creative ideas and some things that you can do and that are allowed. And we know many of you are creative as well, and will come up with your own ways to sort of stay within the brand guidelines, stay within the parameters, and be able to still host an amazing event or activation within your community. And all of these restrictions apply to the word marks you see here, the brand, the poster, FIFA World Cup 26, We Are Toronto, We Are 26, are all protected. Visuals, logos, word marks, slogans are all protected and sort of off limits unless you are a licensee and rights holder with the rights to do so. And this applies to merchandise, to signage, advertising, and promotion. And we've really been emphasizing this with community groups because we're out there telling you to celebrate and be part of it, but there will be brand protection officers and folks around the community and around the city at the time of the World Cup. And we really would just hate for you to go to a lot of effort to have a celebration and some type of event and be off brand and not protecting the brand as we've laid out here, and have all your efforts sort of potentially be shut down or not be able to put them out or display them as you had planned. So how do we celebrate responsibly? And you'll see here, there's a list here of things to avoid, not calling your event an official sponsored by, not using the logos, not implying any formal connection to FIFA or the tournament, using that sort of your exclusive or your official or your endorsed, all of those things are items you should avoid, but there are tons of things that are allowed. You can still talk about soccer themed, tap into the cultural world in a city theme where you can use flags and soccer balls and soccer flags and nets and fans and all of the things that you can really tap into to still drive through a great celebration that's about the sport, that's about community, that's about building and promoting the game, are all still things that are within the wheelhouse for you to use and use responsibly. Again, these slides, and I won't dive into this too much more. I think you get the idea, but it's just about some of the language you can use, some of the messaging, celebrate soccer's biggest event versus celebrate the FIFA World Cup, experience football excitement, plan to visit Toronto. All of these things are the things that you can do. And we know folks have tons of creative ideas. We've been hearing lots of really fun things that people want to do that all stay in line with brand guidelines. There's lots of different themed events you can do. Obviously, for this audience, you're keen on celebrating the sport and capturing that soccer excitement. You might look at some activities around educational programming that build knowledge and, learn the sport, come and try the sport. Wellness and education where you might want to, really engage families. Maybe it's a soccer event with, newcomers to Canada, all of these kinds of activities. And again, I'll repeat, but we know there's a lot of creativity out there and that you will come up with your own ideas and interesting ways to be part of this, this global event coming to our city and province. On the public viewing portal, I won't spend a lot of time here. Cassandra touched on it, but when you're having your events, sort of the rule of thumb is that if it is under 1,000 people, you likely do not need a license. There certainly would not be a fee if it's a community event that has no commercial affiliation. So that means no sponsors, you're not selling tickets to the event. As soon as you get over that 1,000 person mark and you now have sponsors associated with it, or you're selling tickets as an entry fee, there'll be branded activations. It's a whole different story, and a license probably is required. As Sandra mentioned, FIFA have opened up a portal. And I strongly encourage, if you're planning an event or want to do any type of activation, to tap into the portal, ask questions, learn more, err on the side of getting more information versus not enough. And anytime that you want to have a viewing event that screens any of the World Cup matches to an audience outside of a residence, you may have questions and should ask. When in doubt, ask the questions around whether you need a license or not. And I will say that as a host city, we are not part of approving licenses or distributing them. It really is up to FIFA and, as Sandra said, to Bell Media as our host broadcaster here in Canada. Legacy. I want to talk a bit about this because this has been an important part of our work as the Toronto Secretariat and the organizing group for the World Cup in Toronto. And as I'm sure you're all seeing things in the media about our, the World Cup, the money being spent, all of those things. And as a public funded organization, we need to be especially responsible, accountable, and transparent. And it really is there's been a lot of thought and energy put into how do we make this World Cup have a legacy beyond the 6 matches that are being played here. And that's particularly important when we're talking about public dollars. So we have really honed in on 5 legacy themes that our team has focused on in Toronto. We have stood up program advisory bodies for each of the 5 legacy themes, and those advisory bodies have been made up of a couple of folks from the City of Toronto on each one, City Toronto staff, from the sectors that are noted there, and then people from the community. And there's been many Ontario soccer community folks involved in a couple of our legacy theme program advisory bodies, and we're really proud of the work they have done. They've been made up by people who are grassroots, working day in and day out in these sectors, whether it's arts and culture, sport, tourism, human rights, environmental sustainability. We've invited people from each of those sectors to be part of the program advisory bodies. And as I say, there's people who are working in that sector day in and day out, and they really help to inform and guide our decisions around what were important legacies. We did not want to be perceived as sitting in City Hall in the center of Toronto, thinking what's important for the community. And so we've come up with a whole list of legacy projects. We're investing over $5 million in legacy projects for this tournament. And there's a whole long list that the program advisory bodies have come up as important projects and legacies for long-term benefit. Some of them are policy related, some of them are physical things that we will see in our community after the World Cup is over. But one of the ones that I know will be of most interest to this group tonight is our Soccer for All Legacy program. And we have a group called the Champions Table who have been out raising funds to support our Soccer for All Legacy program. So it's really a philanthropic initiative, and our aim is to build several mini pitches across the city of Toronto, particularly in neighborhoods that are equity deserving, neighborhoods that may not have the same access as others. And so we're really, really excited about this program. We actually have 3 mini pitches that are already under construction. And as more funds come in, we will start to add more and build more as we raise more money. And there is a 4th one that will be planned and start building in the spring. So this is all about fostering inclusive soccer programming, promoting physical activities through soccer in communities, and really enhancing the pathway for training and employment. We have some really interesting programming ideas related to this as well. So we want to build the mini pitches, but the commitment of our champions table who are out there raising the money was that we also make sure we provide programming. It's one thing to build mini pitches and just leave them there, but it's another to really attach some programming and make a real effort and a real be intentional about what we want to accomplish in terms of fostering inclusive access to soccer and growing the game. These are the areas where we are building mini pitches, a specific map of the city. The green ones identify those the 3 that are being currently built, and the 4th will be started in the spring. And the others are potential as we raise more funds. We will sort of work down the list. So you'll see they're quite widespread across the city. And when I talk about programming, so our Parks and Rec team, this is a real collaborative effort of many departments across the city have been engaged in the design and the building. We've had our real estate division part of that, and now we have Parks and Rec really leaning into the programming part. And we'll be providing mini pitch programming. We have free instructional soccer programs where we'll see ages 4 to 12, over 2,000 participants we anticipate being part of that programming. And then in the summers, we run some mini pitch camps. And these will be for ages 6 to 12, with what we expect to see over 800 participants be able to be part of that programming. And then we're also looking at this as an opportunity of community capacity building. And this is something that I hope you as a soccer community are especially interested in. We are creating sort of a pathway to job readiness and youth employment and training future leaders specific to soccer. So we are working with Ontario Soccer around the NCCP coaching program. We're going to be investing in having youth and young people take part in NCCP and create a whole new group of trained and experienced coaches in the soccer community. We really want to create a community of practice where we're also training officials and having new certified officials be part of this experience and build capacity. We know this is a need. It was one of the things identified in our sport program advisory group. More coaches, more referees, more capacity in that end and supporting the sport. So there will be a whole new group of coaches and referees trained and certified that we hope then tap into your clubs and your communities and support you across, the GTA for sure, and maybe beyond and in wider corners of our great province. So we're really excited to be tapping into this as part of a soccer legacy and really building and growing the sport. And then finally, just some really quick ways to get involved. And Sandra touched on a lot of these. Please follow us on social channels, stream our Sonic ID, buy a poster, buy some merchandise. And very soon in the coming days, literally in the next few days, you will be hearing about a sweepstakes that we're going out with as well. And we're excited to be launching that in a couple of days. And here are just some ways you can follow us and find us. And that wraps it up for me. But thank you again for letting us be here. And I think we're going to make some time for some questions now.
Thank you so much, Sharon and Sandra. On behalf of Ontario Soccer and the community represented on the call, certainly want to applaud you for this balancing act of bringing a global show to bear in Canada, but also keeping that local aspect and that community impact top of mind. And certainly thank you for inviting Ontario Soccer and our stakeholders to join you on that journey. While people are gathering their thoughts and maybe formulating some questions that we use to wrap up the evening, I also wanted to take a quick moment just to share a little bit of Ontario Soccer flavored information as to how we are trying to bring the magic and the pixie dust, Sharon, that you described from the World Cup City Toronto to other corners of Ontario. And of course, Sandra will work with her team to make sure it spreads coast to coast to coast. So I will now take my turn trying to be graceful in sharing a quick deck and then see if I can follow your impressive example. So hoping that that's visible. Essentially, what we have been working on really ever since Sandra, you and the team had Alphonso Davies impressing the world with being probably the most eloquent 17-year-old to ever grace the FIFA stage. We've certainly been thinking of how we can do our part and contribute to the work that has to happen to make this a truly Canadian legacy. And Generation 26 is sort of our movement, our initiative that we have formulated, really galvanizing the energy of the soccer community, top to bottom, side to side in Ontario, but also, Sharon, touching on that legacy that you mentioned and building that human capital, making sure that we're not only hoping for this influx of new girls and boys picking up the beautiful game, but also making sure we have enough coaches, we have enough match officials, enough administrators, enough volunteers in the system ready to receive this newfound interest in our game and the growth associated with it. So what we will plan, once again, trying to be fully harmonious and aligned with what you two have described, creating a three-pronged approach between hosting a couple of anchor events that Ontario Soccer will lead. And Sharon will certainly be sure to read all the portal information and all the do's and don'ts, making sure that we're following the proper process. But also making sure that club initiatives from our member clubs across the province, of which we, of course, have 500 plus, are really encouraged to create their own footprint in this celebration and make sure that they're not standing on the sidelines no matter where they're located geographically, but that they really join into the excitement. And lastly, of course, Ontario Soccer already every day of the week is doing a lot of work around coaching development, match official education, etc. And we will make sure that Generation 26 will become a bit of a rallying cry so everyone can feel their own a little bit of the magic that will unfold for the game in 2026. One of the ideas, specifically talking about anchor events, is Soccer Day in Ontario. Once again, trying to bring something that permeates across the entire province. And this is something that we have earmarked for June the 6th. And I was very pleased, Sandra, in your presentation, seeing those beautiful inflatable FIFA pitches. It just so happens that we have some of our own custom inflatable pitches that will be deployed for the enjoyment of the grassroots soccer community. And that will form but one part of the activations that we hope to bring to life. Once again, all sort of be complementary and supportive of each other. The club initiatives, as I mentioned, I think the fundamental piece is soccer festivals and triad events. Ontario Soccer, of course, has a huge commitment to speak to that world in a city, province, world in a province sort of theme, if you will. And of course, making sure that soccer is accessible, is inclusive, and is something that everyone from multi-generational to new Canadians can enjoy and readily sort of get involved in. Here's our version of the timeline. I know you both had graphically very appealing timelines. This gives you a little bit of a sense of what we've been up to. We actually did the 1 year countdown last year around June the 9th. A lot of people on the call will remember. Then in a couple of days, we will have the 125-day countdown, not just to be different, but also to give a little nod to the fact that this year is also marking the 125th anniversary of Ontario Soccer and Soccer in Ontario. So just when we thought we didn't have enough to celebrate, we just added another celebration on top of everything else. And then, of course, as you mentioned, sort of the 1 month countdown, a couple of in-event pieces, and you see the Phase 5 legacy pieces at the bottom that we will embrace, because in the end, it's not only this year, but of course, it's 2027 and what happens with the magic that we're creating for many years into the future. And both of you have spoken very well to this. So ultimately, where do we want to go? Engage strong and happy communities. That's what we want to see out of Generation 26 and building those future leaders as we go forward. And of course, a little plug towards the end. And Sharon, we're delighted to have you as part of our power panel for the upcoming Soccer Summit in just 2 weeks' time. You see the theme, Canada United, Building a Soccer Nation. Sandra, you made a fantastic point. I think there was a debate for many years. Is Canada a soccer nation, or is it not, or not yet? And I think you have dispelled all the myths and done away with all the rumors. I think we're well and good established as a soccer nation, and we will only go up from here. And the summit really tries to embrace that. Of course, speakers including our very own Jesse Marsh, who of course will lead the Canadian men's national team to hopefully a fantastic outcome at the World Cup, will be amongst the keynotes. And then here, your very special FIFA World Cup power panel with Sharon, as well as Don Hartman, who is from FIFA Canada, one of Sandra's colleagues. Peter Gruso, of course, our former president, now the president of Canada Soccer, and our very own Dr. Ann, one of the foremost sports business experts. So we're very pleased to bring that type of caliber of speakers. And that was just my sort of putting a little bit of a ribbon around and giving people maybe an extra minute or two to formulate any questions. See, I think we have some activity in the channels here. Just see.
Jorn, do you mind if I jump in? I want
Yeah,
to
please.
apologize to everybody that I can't be on the power panel because I was hoping to be there. And unfortunately, I'm traveling for work, so I'm very excited that you'll have Don joining you. He oversees all of our stadiums and infrastructure, and has been a part of all of the World Cups in Canada since 2007. He was in a
Yes.
similar role to Sharon in 2007 out west. So I think you'll be very well served with Don. And I wanted to really say to everyone on the call, in the end, everything we're doing is only building on the foundation that all of you in the football community have done for the sport. So having been in the sport the last 15 years, someone like Sharon was in the sport, left, did incredible things at Special Olympics. We know what the sport can do for this country, and we know it happens by the hard efforts, the incredible efforts of everybody on this call. So what we will be talking about as a regular frame of reference. I think when we talk about the great story of this tournament in the country, just know that we will be talking about the story of the sport in the communities across this country and all of the people before us who've built the sport for the country to actually be in this position to host. This doesn't happen overnight. This has been a at least decade-long road. We started talking about this back in 2012, but that was after everything that was happening on the pitch and the hosting of other tournaments. And I wanted people to understand the importance of some of the numbers. The opening match in Toronto has the potential to be the largest, don't get nervous, Sharon, but you know this number, no pressure on you. It has the potential to be the largest broadcast event out of our country in the history of our country. So it will be a bigger number than the Vancouver Olympics, and we expect that number could be 300 million. That's how many people will have their eyes on the city of Toronto and the country. So that's an incredible opportunity for all of us to put our best foot forward for this country. And then the second number that I think is really important for people to understand how much people want to be in Toronto and in Ontario is that the fifth highest match for requests in the random selection draw, the fifth highest match of 104 was the round of 32 match in Toronto. So people want to be here. So there will be people in our community in and around the tournament, but it's just a credit to everyone on this call and the work that's been done in the sport over the years. So I wanted to add that. I should have added it in my presentation.
Oh, it's beautiful to put a little bit of closure around it. Sandra, first of all, please don't apologize for having to work, because I think that will be a steady state of affairs for you for the next number of months going into the tournament and beyond. And like you said, Don will be a tremendous addition to the team. And Sharon, just like you sort of reminisced about the U20s in 2007, I was actually out west with BC Soccer at the time, and I remember Don being with the Vancouver Local Organizing Committee, or Burnaby to be more precise, that I helped to serve on as well. So seems like Canada has been working towards this for even more than 10 years, Sandra, to your point. I see one question in the chat that hopefully I sort of have semi-addressed from Chris, asking whether Ontario Soccer will be creating a soccer week in Ontario or day that clubs can follow too with their municipalities. And Chris, indeed, the answer is yes, and we will have more information coming out so clubs can join into the celebration and create their own local flavor. So thank you for asking that question. Not sure, inviting any other questions. I think we're getting some accolades. Thank you very much, Tony, putting some compliments and warm words forward. Much appreciated. So if there is no other questions, we will look to post this webinar. So if your colleagues and peers have missed it, then they can certainly revisit it as a reference point. And as I mentioned, don't miss the chance to be at the Soccer Summit in 2 weeks' time. If you have questions that don't get answered today, you will have a great opportunity, some quality FaceTime, lots of learning, lots of motivation, and most importantly for all the soccer leaders on the call, don't be on the sidelines, get involved, make this count, join us in making history. It's not just up to Sandra and Sharon and other people to do it. We need to all pull together as a soccer community and make this count. And then this can be truly amazing now and with a legacy for years to come. So with that in mind, Sandra and Sharon, thank you so much again, giving of your time on a weeknight. Much appreciated. You're doing a fantastic job, and we're just so grateful to be in your supporting corner and trying to move things along. So